What a week for Google. Oh my gosh. Even in a busy week of stuff, Google I think kind of owned the week, right? So two big things I want to talk about, Jaden. Number one is that they announced Gemini and Chrome, and I really think that this is where they are going to land these huge blows on the consumer side, right?
100%
And
agree.
by the way, it's not because the product is amazing yet. I don't think it is. I think it's cool, but I don't think it's perfect yet. But just think, this is going to bring everybody into like they already have 2 billion eyeballs on that. That's number one. The other thing, Jane, which absolutely blew up when I threw it onto LinkedIn, is this Project Genie, which is this world builder thing, which everybody's absolutely loving. So anyway, where do you want to start on this?
Okay, so much to talk about with Google. What I did want to say before that, because Connor was telling me about this offline, and I couldn't stop myself from talking about it. But that is that Connor's AI mindset, which if you haven't taken his course yet, is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best ways that you can basically upskill yourself and shift your mindset around AI. It's incredible. He leans on a ton of research he's done in this space, a ton of organizations. But he's just telling me there is a ton of organizations now. There was one in the past, and he just has a whole bunch of new ones that are doing this 10,000 seat deal where they're essentially buying 10,000 seats of the generative mindset for their organization. And I just couldn't help but think, if you are listening to this podcast today and your organization could use a shift towards AI, you're obviously you're with us in the bubble, you're with us on the cutting edge, on the tip of the spear when it comes to AI stuff, if you listen to this podcast. But if your organization needs a boost, I 100% recommend checking out the AI mindset. Connor is phenomenal. You guys all know, like, I don't need to sell you on him, but I mean, just the people that he's worked with and trained, from NASA, McKinsey, ServiceNow, Google, Masterclass, United Nations, OpenAI, JP Morgan Chase, Amazon, Unilever, like so many people. I highly recommend, if your company hasn't already gotten access to your organization, to AI mindset, check it out. I will leave a link in the description, but honestly, this is an incredible opportunity to upskill your whole company with you. You can't be the number one person at the top of the company with AI. Got to bring everyone up with you. And this is an incredible opportunity. Okay, let's get into everything that's going on. I wanted to talk about Chrome first. I just thought this was such an awesome entrant into the market, because basically Google Chrome has had a funny background of, people were saying, oh, look, Google Chrome is a monopoly. Google needs to divest it. Perplexity put in a bid to buy it, which was kind of funny, but was mostly just a big marketing thing. And so there's been like a funny kind of challenging background to Google Chrome, which is of course the biggest browser in the world, used by the most amount of people. One thing that happened, I think, in all of this kind of like, I guess, limbo with Chrome, it feels like it's not going to get divested. It's going to just kind of keep being owned by Google. But in the limbo, I feel like Google put a lot of focus into other areas of AI and didn't focus on Chrome because they weren't really sure what was going to happen to this asset, right? Like, why would they supercharge this into the world's best AI browser when maybe, there's some sort of, you'd have to divest and give it over to Perplexity or someone else. And so I think it's interesting now that they're starting to add a lot of this. We've seen the same kind of AI features coming out of Atlas for OpenAI, out of Comet for Perplexity. You have Anthropic that is doing a ton of cool stuff with browsers. I personally use the Anthropic Chrome browser extension. So it's basically like a tab that pulls up on the side of my browser. I talk to it. I was just using it this week to get a bunch of stuff done. And it just takes control of your screen and does things for you. So everyone's getting into this. There's so much value, but I think Google has the opportunity to really crush it with Chrome, especially considering it's the biggest browser. So I'm excited to see what they start doing, pulling agents into your little Chrome browser.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when I was looking at this, it's pretty cool. I haven't really tried it yet. Jaden, I'm kind of with you. My favorite thing is the Claude extension. But I'll tell you that these browsers are actually pretty good. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Perplexity. I just have a hard time imagining Perplexity continuing this valuation as Google continues to just. Google already has the market share. Like, they have 65% of the browser audience, and Perplexity has like whatever it is. So I just think that these places just tend to keep saying like, oh, well, people like that, we'll just build that too. And I like the way Google's doing it. They're doing it slowly and deliberately. Like, they have a certain responsibility, right? There's something like 2 billion people using Google search or whatever it is. And
Mm-hmm.
thus that means that they can afford to bring people along slowly, because most people are not like you in the audience. They're not like me and Jaden. They're not like thinking about AI all the time. We are inside a bubble inside a bubble. So I actually also really like, if you use Microsoft Edge, I know a lot of people don't, but there's a great Copilot, is sort of like the agentic browser in there, is actually, I think, really good. I think it's where Copilot's sort of shining these days. You have OpenAI's Atlas, right? Which I haven't really messed around with too much. But the most important thing is that this is going to be how people start experiencing search engines now. They're going to start to and they're going to start seeing like, oh, well, there's this thing on the side, and I can just like ask it a question, and it's going to come to them. That's where I think it has like the most power and definitely the most leverage. It doesn't even have to be the best product. It just has to live where you are. This is the thing that drove me nuts about Siri. Why didn't Siri a long time ago just make their own crappy LLM? Like it's not like people are just asking about the weather. That doesn't
Yeah.
need to be, hey, help me create like a business plan to like, take over from Verizon. It just has to be like, hey, my dog just, ate too much chicken. What should I do? It This is the thing, like, this doesn't have to be a perfect product. It just has to not screw up and get in the news for having fake demos and things like that, you know?
100%. Yeah, that would have been an easy quick win for Apple back in the day to just literally API into Siri or API into any of the top model companies and given responses like that. But oh well. I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But anyways, this Chrome thing I think is great. It's very similar to what we've seen from a lot of other players. And also, if you have like if you're using Gmail and you have like the Google Workspace and stuff, you'll recognize this because it's essentially just a button that pulls up a tab on
Yeah.
the side of your screen and you can chat with it. But now it also takes over your control of your screen and actually can do things for you, which is nice. My like big, I guess, complaint, which I'm sure it will get solved soon. It's just, we just have to wait on the capabilities to get better. But it feels like none of these models are like really good at when they take over your control of your screen from my experience. They're not good at like going for very long periods of time or doing very complex tasks. They can do kind of simple things. So it is useful. It does save you time. You do have to kind of babysit it a bit. And this has been my
Yes.
experience ever since OpenAI's agents came out. So I do have the Claude browser extension. I really like it. I recently I was looking at a YouTube account where there's like a big project we did a while ago where we created a ton of different YouTube short content, and some of it went viral, and some of it like got like one view. So on this one channel, and so I was looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh. And anyways, I had this theory and I looked it up. Reddit confirmed to me that essentially if I go and reschedule all of the posts that only have one view to go off in the future, it will reactivate the algorithm
Hmm.
on shorts. Anyways, whatever. Side thing.
Cool.
I'm always like Einstein on marketing
Yes.
stuff, trying to
You love that stuff.
mad scientist some things. So anyways, I was like, well, this is really cool. And I looked at it and we had like, I think we had like 200 posts that had only a couple views on them out of like, a couple thousand that we'd done over the last year on a project. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, so I like start clicking and like schedule. I get down like 3. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, I should tell a virtual assistant to do this. And then I'm like, well, the amount of time is going to take me to like record it and tell a virtual assistant. I'm like, I should just try Claude. So I just tell Claude, like, go to this page, click, schedule them all. Anyways, and I set it to work. And I mean, it would get through like a whole page at a time and then tell me done. And I'd say, okay, go do the next page. So like, I had to like keep telling it, but it was saving me a lot of time. Never had to talk to a virtual assistant, never had to get someone else to do it. So I think there's just a lot of these kind of tasks. If there's ever anything repetitive, if you ever find yourself doing the same thing twice in a row and you got to do it like 20 more times, just get one of these models like to do it for you, whether that's the new Chrome browser, whether that's Claude, whether that's Atlas or comments from Perplexity. That is my advice to the world.
No, it's so right. And Jane, I'm going to do something that I really never do, and that's because I think it's important enough. So, last week, my guy Robert Haslam, who's our creative strategist at AIM, he's like one of the smartest guys. Robert, one of the smartest guys around on AI, and he was showing me some like new things that I hadn't really used. I'd used AI Studio, I'd done vibe coding and all these things, but he's like, "Have you used AI Studio Live?" And I'm like, "Not really, Robert. I've kind of checked it out." He's like, "No, no. Here, let me just show you." So he started showing me stuff on Google AI Studio Live. Now, to me, if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm one of you out there, I might be thinking, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. I'm probably not going to use it." Guys, just hear me out just for 1 second. If you just literally type in Google AI Studio, but you say AI Studio Live, okay? What it does is it essentially takes over your machine. So in the same way, like you might share your entire desktop with Zoom or something like that, that's what it's doing. All of a sudden, it's seeing everything on your desktop. And Jaden, I want to tell you what I did. So this is not outside a browser, right? I now had CapCut, a separate app on my MacBook open. I was trying to sort of like get captions going on a thing, but I just couldn't figure out how to sort of switch like the color of the caption because I was auto generating and I was doing all this thing and there's basic and there's advanced. And I finally just opened Live and I'm like, hey, can you see this app? And they're like, yeah, I can see it. It's on your screen. By the way, she's talking to me live and I'm
Yeah.
talking back to her live. And so this is outside the browser. This is just something on my screen. I'm like, okay, basically I'm trying to make this thing from purple to orange because AI mindset colors are orange. And she's like, okay, yeah, no, you're in the basic tab, so that's good, but just scroll down. I'm like, sure. Like, okay, so I scrolled down. I'm like, but I don't see it though. She's like, oh, sorry, no, no, I meant this. So I went over there, and she said, and I scrolled down, and sure enough, she's like, okay, you see that box? Yeah, click that box. Okay, now what about this? Jaden, it worked. Blown away. I'm not a big guy to kind of go out and experiment and tell I do like to experiment, but I don't like to tell everybody, don't just worry about this. Go and build like, agent. No, no, but guys, it was so easy, and it sees your entire desktop. AI Studio Live. Google is crushing it.
I I absolutely love that. Here's the thing that has completely shifted the way I think we're going to be using computers, and my mindset has shifted a lot in the last couple of weeks. Basically, I vibe coded a platform called podcaststudio.com, and actually, I don't. I tell, like, if you're listening, don't sign up for it, even if you have a podcast. I don't want any more users because I don't want to hear any of your bug requests. I just made it for myself, really, and I had the URL, so I was, I had to vanity URL the podcaststudio.com. But anyways, it basically built a platform where I can upload all of my podcasts, my podcast network into it, and it uses AI. So I upload one MP3 file and it fills out all of the data, makes me transcripts. Anyways, and like, it's just the most smooth, buttery, amazing experience of my life to post my podcasts. And the thing that has blown my mind is, while I was building that over the last, I really had like the framework of a functioning prototype made in like one day, but then I just like add new features every single day. I'm like, you know what, it'd really be nice if I could translate this into every single language, which, by the way, actually, for this podcast, if you're listening to it, this podcast is now in 5 different languages. Every time we upload an episode, it goes out to German, French, Spanish. If you speak any of those other languages, Mandarin, Arabic, if you speak any of those languages, our voices are dubbed, so it sounds just like us, but we're speaking those languages. And so, yeah. Anyways, you go find those on Apple Podcasts. But that's another feature. Okay, sorry, tangent. What I learned doing all of this is I never want to interface with a software like you were mentioning again, where I'm like, what are the settings? Like, how does this software work? Because when I was building that, I would just like, I don't know what code is. I'd just be like, hey, add this feature, and it's like, blah, 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 here's the problems with like adding that feature, and I'm like, okay, just fix it. And I'm like, okay, fine, we fixed it. I don't ever want to go to a website again and like have to figure out the UI of the website, figure out how to do things. I just want like a chatbot on the side of every website where I tell it what I want it to do. I don't want to have to figure out how to do it. I just want to be able to tell it what I want. And I
Yep,
think we're going to see
exactly.
a massive shift in that direction with the new Google Chrome. What you were explaining is phenomenal, but it was like, using it so much on that project, I was like, I want this on every project. I don't want to ever have to figure out
Yep.
anything again. Like, I just want to tell it what I want and the AI to do it for me. So
That's
that's
the
where we're
addictive
going.
nature of AI, Jaden. This is why sort of like the behavioral shift is so critical, because once you get people starting to use it, they don't want to stop. It's unbelievable. Jaden, I'm just looking at the clock as you were coming up on time. We didn't even get to all the Google news. We'll get to
I
it
know.
separately. Although, guys, I will say this. The next episode is going to be a special one. I'm super, super psyched about it. So enjoy your day today. Go do your thing, but make sure you tune in to the next AI Applied podcast, because I'm super psyched to share something cool that we were talking about and doing that Jaden was just sharing with me. And I said, look, that needs its own podcast. That was so cool. So make sure you tune in next time. For this time, guys, if you leave a rating and review, we will be eternally grateful. It really helps us to boost up the visibility of this. And again, we're just doing this because we like doing it. Jaden and I like hanging out and doing this. So we'd be super grateful, and we would hope that all of you have an amazing rest of your day.